Good morning, everyone. We'll be starting in just a couple minutes. Richard, it's interesting to see your title without like a DEQ logo or something. You need to have some like image in the corner about being retired, like a guy laying in a hammock or something, which is not what you're doing by any means. Oh. Good morning, everyone. We're just giving time for everyone to get in. Thank you for joining us today. I know we have a lot of people registered. So far, we got 16 people popping in. Those are the ones that like to be early. If you do have any issues with hearing us or seeing us, you can pop something into the Q&A, which I'll keep an eye on. It looks like we're at 10 o'clock, but we'll just give maybe another minute. I'm being gracious. You don't even have your name on that slide, Richard, do you? No.
No, I don't.
Whoops. I've only been doing what, 25 years worth of presentations.
Yeah.
It happens. So hopefully all the participants that can hear me are here for Household Hazardous Waste Standard Operating Procedures. I think we had it named a little bit in the reverse, but it's still the same thing. This is the Southeast chapter of NAMA's webinar that we're hosting for this month. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce Richard. Give me just a second to pull up my little spiel that I should have memorized for Richard. He has been with NAMA, which is the North American Hazardous Materials Management Association, since 2008, and is retired from Leon County, Florida Household Hazardous Waste and Very Small Quantity Generator Hazardous Waste Program. And he is still a regular participant in NAMA as a trainer, and for the Southeast chapter and the association, which used to be called NAMA National. And he's also the association treasurer. So he's still a big part of NAMA. And we're happy to have him here today to talk about HHW standard operating procedures. I'm just going to do one more reminder. So if you want to communicate with us, go to the Q&A box. Hopefully you'll see on the screen at the bottom. You can pop in any questions, or Richard may pause through the presentation to ask questions. He may ask you to pop something into the questions just to make sure you're all awake and paying attention this morning. I just also want to mention that the NAMA Southeast chapter is starting to work on the planning for our 2025 conference, which is going to be in Crystal River, Florida, June 2nd through the 5th next year. It's on the West Coast, north of Tampa. And we're always looking for ideas for training sessions. And if you're interested in helping us out, you can reach out to me. I'm trying to think of if I can pop my information in here, which I probably can't. So I'll give you guys my phone number at the end, just in case you're interested in helping us out with training or sessions or planning that conference, because we're always looking for new ideas. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Richard and stop my video.
Thank you, Andrea. Good morning, everyone. We're going to be talking about standard operating procedures for HHW facilities and the why and how behind them. And these are ideas and things I picked up with my time at Leon County household hazardous waste facility. And originally it got started putting it together as part of a facility-wide SOP document, which is why when I'm showing some examples, that explains some of the numbering that's in place, because it was part of a larger document that I've since extracted to use as an example. And basically, for an introduction, I mean, these are widely used in a lot of places, and they're there to provide a consistent guidance for your activities. And I've also used them as the base document for a new employee training and refreshers. And I included our regulatory documents into our SOP program, like the site safety plan, our emergency plans, so that everything is conveniently in one location. So getting into putting it together is you're determining what procedures your program uses, and ask, and this includes going out to your staff, what activities lack a procedure, like what have we been doing off the cuff and not actually set up a specific way of doing it. And one of the things I prefer to do is I group them into general procedures, specific, and emergency. And the way we line things up was to go a step-by-step process. You can modify this to your particular facility or way of thinking, but it was defining what type of PPE to use in a specific procedure, what kinds of tools or equipment you're going to need, what the methodology is from start to finish, and what type of record keeping you're going to need to do. And one of the things realizing is keep the language simple and clear. This has got to be read by the entire staff and to be able to understand it and use it for training. So yeah, I know this is a little small, but this was an example of our general procedure when I was at Leon County. And it goes through, these are pretty much just all of your everyday daily things that have to be done, that are usually assigned across staff to know what's needing to be done. Things like, making sure the main vent fans are on, the hours for the overhead doors to be open, your sweep schedule, and also just general safety things like no food or drink in the area, no smoking, your appropriate footwear, and going through things like our authorized persons. One of the issues we had was customers would see carts with things going out to our reuse center, and they would try to sneak in to grab things early. So we'd have to keep an eye out for things like that and make sure only authorized personnel were actually in the work area. And we also had to keep an eye out for other county employees that were not HHW staff trying to also sneak in to grab things early. And also a lot of your basic hygiene, hand washing, making sure your safety showers and eye wash stations, we had 2 of them in the facility, keeping the fire extinguishers clear. And one of the big things, and this is an argument I occasionally had with upper management, was trying to remind them that we needed a minimum of 2 people on staff at any time, that we really could not safely operate with a single person. And citing back to the HAZWOPER standard of always work on a buddy system when you're in any kind of hazardous waste facility. So, this is set up for a general procedure, so that And moving on. Okay, actually, while we're here, if we got in, I'll go ahead and open it up if anyone has questions to start with.
So far, we don't have any open questions yet.
Okay, so
Thank you.
moving on to a specific procedure. On this one, it was for lab packing liquid pesticides. And as you can see, it starts off the required PPE. And also, again, since I did work in Florida, high temperature safety reminder was included, specifying the containers to be used, how they were to be marked, their start date, and affixing the appropriate DOT labels. This was we always marked the manifest ID, and which we used LEO and then a year, month, day plus a dash to identify the drums. This also rolled over within our record keeping so we could keep things consistent. Going through the procedure of how much vermiculite to use, setting up for your institutional procedures to provide ventilation, overhead door, large fans. In other words, all set up to make sure air is moving from behind the employee to outside to keep the area ventilated. We had kept 2 trash cans nearby. These were double bagged, and we put absorbent into them for the empty containers after they were triple rinsed. We had again, this would be modified sometimes. Some contractors would want a detailed manifest, some would less detailed. So this will be modified by your vendor. And in this case, like when you're doing lab packing, you put your largest, heaviest containers on the bottom and work and get smaller as you go up. This gives your dimensions for how much spacing. Guidance on consolidating and the limitations that are in that. Reminder to use secondary containment for compromised containers, cracked caps, leaks, things like that. All your layering type, leaving your headspace, making sure you check the fit. And one of the things we would do we would place the manifest in a zipper bag and tape on the outside of the lid so that we could always look at it and with this one, we invert the bolt ring so we knew it was not a complete drum. And then when it was complete, we'd enter the information and print the content sheet. So this gives you an idea of a specific procedure example. Okay, so again, I'll go ahead and stop here for any questions.
We have a quiet audience today.
Okay.
Just remember, sorry, Richard, just remember the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, hopefully is where it's located. You can click on that to go ahead and send any questions in. Thank you.
Okay. So, and the third example I'd have is our emergency procedures. These we had set up, and this one is like for our evacuation, in which, fortunately, the only time we actually had to use this in my facility was for what proved to be a false alarm, the fusible joint in our safety locker corroded and broke, causing the fire extinguisher to discharge. Of course, when it discharged, the alarms went off, so everyone evacuated out of. But so fortunately, it was a false alarm. There was no fire. It was just a mess to clean up. But it also did cause us to fire our fire extinguisher company and get in a new one to do our inspections because they totally missed the corroded link. And so that, excuse me, this is for any times you have to vacate. It specified our rally points. And this was, staff were allocated for contacting other employees. Specified the manager on site would do the principal contacting and would act as the incident commander until relieved, do head counts, make sure we cut off customer access because they don't care if there's a fire, they still want to get in there and dump their stuff. Trust me that we saw this. And they were like, well, we don't see anything. Again, work with the first responders and then do your evaluation. So,
Do you
like
mind
I
a
said,
question?
yeah.
We have an attendee that's asking if the SOPs are posted within the building. Like, do you have any portion of them or only in a handout?
Okay, we had the full SOP printed out in a 3-ring binder on our front staff desk next to the phone. And we also had electronic copies on a shared drive that any staff member could bring up and look at. And also, I would review it once a year and make updates as needed. Okay, so and moving on to, moving into, again, to our conclusions and discussion. This is an excellent baseline for training your staff. I mean, because you can get out your printed copy, open it up, they can read it, and then you can have it right with you as you're demonstrating to the employee how they're supposed to operate the procedure. And it's an important part of your site safety culture so that, it's made, again, we had that copy on the desk, so it's always readily available. So staff could remind themselves. And moving on to the second one, it provides a reference when examining incidents to see if the procedure was done correctly, or if you need to change the procedure because you've overlooked something. And, and if it really gets to the point where you have a problem employee, this also provides a reference point for demonstrating that they are not following proper procedure and that it is a documented procedure. If you do have to move into any kind of staff enforcement activity. And again, I liked it. It provides a location for your regulatory required documents like your site safety plans, your emergency evacuation, and things like that. And once you get these things up and running, they really do make your life a lot easier. And you get your staff up and understanding the standardized procedure, they get into a, they will get used to it. It helps improve their understanding and efficiency in getting things done. So it really does help across the board to have these put together and available to your staff. Okay, I know this is kind of a short one today, but hopefully it's given us a lot of information to think about. And here is my contact information. And now we'll open it up for discussion.
Yeah, we have the opportunity if you want to raise your hand or post something in the Q&A. You've got someone here that has just a huge amount of experience of running a household hazardous waste program. Even if it's not related to SOPs, if you have questions, feel free to raise your hand. I can allow you to talk so you can have an open-ended conversation with Richard. Just take advantage now of having this person here with all this experience to help improve your HHW programs. Oh, I got one Q&A. Oh, yes, they want to know if they can have a copy of the PowerPoint.
Yeah, we can make that available to everyone.
Yeah, if you PDF it for me, Richard, and email it, I'll make sure I get it emailed out to the participants.
Yeah, easy to
And
do.
then I'm gonna put yes here, and then we do have another one. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna unmute Joshua if I can find him in here, hopefully.
Yeah.
Give me a moment, Joshua. Here we go.
Yeah.
All right, Joshua, I hope you don't mind just making this a more interesting webinar. Feel free to have conversations about your question with Richard.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that was a great presentation, Richard. Very informative. I guess the question I have is, do you guys have any references for, existing SOPs that, we could kind of use just a kind of a baseline?
I've still got a copy of the Leon County somewhere on my hard drive at home, so I should be able to locate it and make that available.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, because
Under
ours
Florida public record law, it's public record, so I can hand it over.
Oh, okay, that would be great. Yeah, because we kind of have more of an internal kind of guidance, but we don't have a concrete SOP. So that's something that's kind of foremost on our to-do list. So yeah, that would be great.
Joshua, I think the best thing would probably be to do, and anyone else that's interested in a copy of the actual ones he had at Leon County, just jot his email down and send that request so he can reply directly.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I will make sure I get the presentation out to everyone.
Yeah, and this is also being recorded, so the recording will eventually be available.
And we do have one more. If we're good there, I'm gonna unmute you, Alexandra. Here we go. Can you go ahead and test out your microphone there?
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Perfect, yes.
Hi, thank you, Richard.
Can you guys still hear me?
We can. You want me to
Oh,
mute
okay. I
you?
was just checking to see if you muted me back yet.
I can do that. Sorry about that, guys.
Okay, no problem.
Joshua.
All right, go ahead, Alexandra.
Yes, Richard, thank you. I'm curious, how many SOPs should a HHW facility shoot to create? How many for the whole facility? And as a follow-up, how interchangeable across state lines do you think existing HHW SOPs are?
Okay. It depends upon how much your facility does, but for any regularly accomplished activity, you should have a procedure. Like if you do paint bulking, you should have a procedure for that. If you box up, use cubic yard boxes for paint, there should be a SOP for that. An SOP for your customer interaction. So any standard regularly, or some occasional procedure that you do at the facility that you really should aim to have an SOP guide for. We would do things like, twice a year I'd have to go deal with the 2-part polyurethane contractor tanks, which, we only did it twice a year, but we set up a very specific SOP because it was a very messy and problematic process. So we had very specific procedures set up to keep things clean and safe. And across state lines, a lot of the standard procedures will be fine, but regulatory specific, you will need to make sure you do follow your state regulatory requirements.
Great, thank you. I have another question not related to SOPs. I'm from the Central Vermont Solid Waste Management District, and we are in the process of designing and building a new HHW facility. And an area of question is sensors, vapor sensors around bulking areas. How far away should spot or slot ventilation be from a vapor sensor so that as to not counteract each other?
Okay, I did not work with those. We did our paint bulking. We had actually in a fume hood that would hold a drum so that and the opening of that was set at 150 linear feet per minute. And for staff, we would do spot checks with lapel dosimeters. But you probably will need to check with the manufacturer on that kind of distance. And I'm going to do a NAMA plug. Dave Nightingale has a book out on facility design that is available through the NAMA bookstore. And I would highly recommend picking that up.
Yes, thank you, Richard. We have the book and
Okay.
we're actively working with David.
Okay. Yeah.
Just wanted to see if you had input.
Yeah. He would definitely, I think he's out of the country right now, but he would definitely have a good idea on that setup.
Thank you.
Richard, I was thinking maybe the fire marshal may also have some input on that. I
Yeah.
know me as a hazardous waste inspector have seen the vapor detectors and some of the areas where hazardous waste is accumulating, and I've seen them hanging from the ceiling, but not, I would say they're at least probably 8 feet up. Not that that's any type of guidance, but they weren't right on top of the drums.
Yeah. You
And
need to
then,
have space for the ventilation to occur.
yeah. And then I also wanted to mention, just keep in mind that different states regulate household hazardous waste differently. In Florida, HHW wasn't regulated. However, once they started collecting waste from very small quantity generators, they had to have certain things in place and register with the state and things like that. Register might be the wrong term, but you have to let the state know you're doing that activity. So I do know that other states sometimes do regulate household hazardous waste more strictly.
Yeah. Well, Florida, yeah, that you have to have an authorization letter from the state in Florida.
Authorization letter, thank you.
Yeah, to
And now I'm
accept
thinking, oops,
the SQG material.
VSQG material. Do not take SQG material.
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and mute Alexandra.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate people's participation. Let me see if we have any. I have several screens up, so give me just a second to make sure there's not any more open questions. Oh, we do have one more.
Okay.
This is anonymous, so there's no one to unmute. How did you disseminate this information across multiple recycling facilities? I'm a little bit confused by that one. Recycling facilities. Did you have multiple? I'm assuming maybe that's HHW facility.
Yeah.
And did
Actually,
you,
yeah,
oh, sorry.
At Leon County, we had 3 rural waste centers that collected limited HHW, and I provided each one of those with a copy of the SOPs and worked with the rural waste supervisor to make sure the staff at those satellite facilities were trained on what they were allowed to accept and to make sure they were stored properly. You know, the satellite facilities were more limited to things just like used motor oil, paint, antifreeze. We had racks for fluorescent lamps and batteries, and aerosol cans.
And that does answer the second portion of his question, their question, which is, did you have training sessions or onboarding for each employee? So it sounds like training sessions.
Yes. One of the reasons also I took the NAMA trainer was so that I could do internal training for like internal 24-hour training for staff, so I didn't have to spend a lot of money to send them off somewhere for 3 days. And I was also able to get the training out to a lot of public works staff who would assist us on collection events, so that we had everyone working the event actually had 24-hour training.
But you did additional training in addition to HAZWOPER, right?
Right.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah. Well, we went outside. All of our staff had to be forklift certified, so we had an outside contractor who came in to do the forklift certification. Our risk management people would come in and do the first aid, heat related illness, and we had an AED on site, so they also did the AED training. So
Gotta get
and
that safety in there too.
yep. And yeah, and just trying to get as much training as you can because it helps keep staff interested. It makes them feel like they're being included and that we're thinking about them. So it's also very good for morale. But
That's a
yeah,
really good
again,
point.
and kind of check out the training if you can ahead of time to make sure it's going to be interesting, and because you don't want the staff going, oh God, not another training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do have another person. It's Joshua. I'm gonna go ahead and unmute you again. Sorry, I'm just trying to hit the right buttons here.
Oh.
I'm hoping that it's instead of allow to talk, it says ask to unmute. So Joshua, go ahead and give your microphone a chance. I don't know why it has a slightly different.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, good.
Okay. I guess this is a question for what kind of collaboration was done with the local fire rescue or fire department when it comes to regards to the SOP, if any at all?
We just with that we worked with the fire department. We provided them with information on, and big part was just like, this is the kind of things to expect to be in the building. And we had them also come around, take a look at our our fire setup. They were fine with that. They're always happy to do fire extinguisher training. It gives them an excuse to set something on fire so they can put it out.
Okay, yeah. So then that's kind of seems like the right path I'm on then, because
Yes.
I'm assuming for us that would be a good thing to do as well, just to make sure we take that proactive approach.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, that's one of the things. Fire departments seem to universally want to, do fire extinguisher training. So it's usually easy to talk them into it.
Okay, gotcha.
And
Thank you.
And a lot of times, all it's going to cost you is a refill on your fire extinguisher.
Yeah, I was gonna say that might be a good use of the fire extinguishers that you collect to properly use them.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And not
Yeah, I don't
ship
want to
them
go down
off.
that rabbit hole today.
Yeah. Oh, don't. Yeah. I when I was running it, we just finally ended up we just shipped off our fire extinguishers and did not try to process them anymore.
Use your own.
Yeah. After the third incident report I had to do from staff getting injured processing
Oh, okay.
fire extinguishers, I said, no more, we're just shipping them.
We do have one more anonymous question I'll go ahead and bring up. And I'm gonna go ahead and mute Joshua. But if you think of something else, feel free to raise your hand again. This is a great opportunity to ask those questions. Inquiring minds. All right, so I have a question on, can you provide an example of an SOP that would require use of multiple tools and equipment?
That would be for multiple tools. That would be part of the swap out of the propane tanks on our forklift.
Oh, you have to.
You have to undo it, make sure it's done. We make sure you seal it, transport things properly. Also things like using the tools you use for things like just processing paint cans, because you've got your openers and there is a proper technique to use those so you don't wreck your wrist. Different techniques for scraping paint out of the cans from the stand-up big scrapers. You just drop the can over and turn it. scoops things out to using a trowel. There's, different ways of handling that.
Are you a fan of the grid, like the grid over the drum to put the can on top and allow it
Yeah,
to,
we
maybe
would
for
have
lake
that,
effects?
and then a slightly conical splash shield under the grid,
Oh,
so that it reduced the amount of splash coming out. Nothing is ever going to get rid of all of it, but it reduced it, which was basically we just took a blank drum lid, cut about a 8-inch hole in the center, and then just hammered away on it to make it into a downward cone. And then you could just drop that on top of the drum, put your grid on top of it, and work that way.
nice.
Yeah.
Tips of the trade. We do have Alexandra. I'm going to go ahead and click this button and hope you're able to unmute. There we go. You're unmuted.
Hello again. I have a question about maintaining the accurate or appropriate ventilation. Right, the first bullet point of general procedures, main ventilation fans are to be on at all times while the building is occupied. Just for clarification, does that mean our slot ventilation, or does that mean that ceiling fans, moving airflow is appropriate, or are we talking about a whole HVAC system?
Okay, these were four. They were 48-inch exhaust fans around the top corners of the main building, so that each one was moving a lot of air outside of the building from the upper areas, and then we opened the overhead doors to let air in. And then we could go in and do spot fans for, like, if you're working with pesticides or something like that.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Is there, in your opinion, Richard, is there a need for air intake as well as exhaust, or should we, or do you think the focus should just be on expelling
Yeah,
those?
it's air's going to get in, so the big thing is usually on getting air exhausted out of the building.
Mhm. Okay.
I know some facilities will have like the snorkel type things to set up about a foot above a drum when you're working on it. It just pulls air from straight over the drum and exhausts it. There's the drum type fume hoods, and then there's the large general fan circulation. Up in Vermont, you're probably going to also, I'm not sure about your winter conditions. When you're closing up the building because it's so cold, that may restrict some of the air movement. But that's not something I had to worry about in Florida.
Yes, we will. We'll come back with some updates as we continue to embark on our winter journey. Thanks.
Thank
Yeah,
you so much for your participation. I think this is just a really great forum to be able to ask those questions. I don't think I have any open questions anymore, and I don't think I have any hands raised. Let me double check. Doesn't look like it. Oh, we got one. Hold on. Give me a second here. Sorry. Too many buttons. I usually like buttons. There we go. I got it now. I'm going to go ahead and unmute Naomi. Go ahead, Naomi.
Can you hear me?
yes.
We sure can.
Great. Thank you so much, Richard. I was just curious if you had any lessons learned from integrating your SOPs into your overall training for your facility, or any, just things to be that maybe caused confusion or questions that resulted from employees doing the SOP. Just any lessons learned you could share.
I try to keep them as clear as you can to avoid the misunderstandings. you know, and I did believe in getting staff feedback on them if, you know, when they're working with them, if they've got ideas on something that might improve them, to seriously look at that, and we would, if it looked like a good idea, we would incorporate them.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Now, sometimes they didn't have great ideas, but sometimes they had pretty good ideas, and we were able to improve our program because, again, you know, someone who's doing it for an hour at a time can, like, you know, it'd be a little bit easier if we do it this way, and you can look at it and figure out, yeah, he's right.
Great, thanks.
It's always nice when the agency allows for small rewards too, like gift cards or whatever, when an employee thinks brings up an idea that you guys that's implemented. So if you're able to do that, that might be a good time to do it too. And I did oh nope, the hand went down. I think Alexandra might have clicked it again and it's back down again. Oh, hold on one second. Oh, I rose my hand by accident. Let me see about that. Yeah, I don't even know how to take that down right now. So, all right, we still have a few more minutes. If anybody has any questions, don't forget you could submit them anonymously. I was trying to lower my hand. There we go. I found it. All right, let me double check that Q&A again.
Okay, it looks like Alexandra has her hand up again.
Okay, let me work on that. There we go. Okay, she should be good to go.
Hello again. I have a question about SOP creation and crossover with the reuse areas where people can take or give, or SOPs with a self-serve system. Is there any crossover there, or is it completely unapplicable?
Actually, once I can get home and get my old one and get it sent out, we did include an SOP for our reuse center and things for, like, yeah, making sure it was under control, because you do have to keep an eye on them. You want to be able to, you know, supervise what's going on. People will make messes. And one of the challenges that we had, why we specifically moved away from saying swap shop, was people would just bring things in and put them on the shelf without telling you. So yeah, that was part of our SOP, was our reuse. We had a SOP for our reblending paint also. So yeah, those are completely appropriate.
Did you, in your experience, have you found more challenges than benefits with sort of public self-serve areas?
Oh, you mean for reuse?
Reuse, or even self-sorting. Self-sorting containers, not bulking, not any processing of any sort, but just sorting based off of a category, or is that clear?
When I took over, they were trying to do the self-sorting, and we did not have a good experience with it. So we would just bring a cart out and have the people put everything on the cart, and then we would sort it. But for our reuse center, it was inside the building with a chain link fence cage around it, so we had visibility of it from all directions. So we could keep an eye on what was going on in there.
Great, thank you.
I definitely do not recommend citizens have access to HHW unsupervised.
That sounds like a recipe, yeah, for not good
That's
things.
why, and so I know some places have done it, but I do not support unsupervised drop-off locations.
Sometimes they get created by
Yeah.
people putting it in front of the fences and things like that.
Yeah.
Of closed doors, so.
But, I have helped at one county I was assisting with is basically it came down to a county commissioner wanted something at his side of the county and they didn't have staffing for it. So they had to put in an unattended drop off location and it's a daily mess.
Oh, that's awful. So I'm just gonna remind everyone that this webinar is being recorded and that recording will be put on the NAMA login. If you're a member, if you're not a member, I'll make sure that you go ahead and get a link to the recording that you can reference. It does take typically a week or two to get that posted. And then I'm also going to make sure that everyone gets a copy of the PowerPoint presentation. And then you'll have my contact information if you have any follow-up questions. Or if you want to, like I said, help with our planning of our Southeast chapter conference in June of next year.
Okay.
And right now we don't have any open questions or any raised hands. Nope.
Nope.
So,
So, yeah.
going once. Oh, go ahead, Richard.
Yeah.
You have
So
any
the
words?
association conference is in Austin next week. It's probably too late to get approval if you're not already going, considering how fast institutions take to get travel approved. But as Andrea was mentioning, Southeast will have their annual conference in Crystal River in June. And like I said, Crystal River is a nice location. Although we probably won't see manatee in June. It's the Gulf's gotten warm enough that they're probably not going to be in the river.
They might not like that.
Yeah.
So if you want more information, just reach out to one of us. So I don't have any outstanding things, so we'll let you have 15 more minutes to your day and appreciate your participation in the webinar and really great questions, good discussion. So appreciate that very much. So have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome. Bye.